Hi guys, what are we going to do today? Do you remember what we just did? We made this fun book cover. So today we are going to take different types of paper and make signatures to put in our book. Let's get started. So this is the book cover we had just made, and now we need to make signatures to go into the inside. So what we're going to do is I have a pile of different papers here. And as thick as this is, I'm going to put 3 signatures into this. And I'm going to do 10 pages in each signature. You can do more, you can do less, you could do one large one. So if you do the signature with too many pages, it's going to lay very uneven in here. So doing 3 signatures works well with 10 in each. Here are some different papers that I am going to use for these signatures. I just pulled a bunch of different papers. This is almost like a waxy graph paper. And then I'm also using some old book paper. And here is a glossy book paper out of a travel book. It's got fun maps. This is a lighter weight rice paper, so it might be one that you want to carefully use or add something to the back, but I thought this would be really fun to use in there. Plain shipping paper. I also had some of these other fun placemat papers I thought I would use. So when you're picking your papers, you're going to want to see what size you're going to need. So you're going to want to measure your book. I am just going to go from the center of my book. These pages are about 8.5 inches, and they're going to be folded. So I'm going to need 17 inch because you want it in one sheet. And this is a shorter book, and this is only going to be 5.5. And most of the papers I picked were 11 by 17, so that, or maybe even a little bigger. So I knew all I had to do was cut them in half and they would fit in there. So the first thing is figure out about where my 5.5s are and start tearing my paper. Now you can cut them if you'd rather, just to make them nice and straight and even. I don't mind that they're not gonna be perfect and straight and even, so I don't mind just tearing them. On this one, this is really thin, so I think having it doubled would be a good idea. We're going to end up with 2 pages out of this. And it's not quite 17, so the page is going to be a little shorter on the inside. So if you have smaller pieces, that's fine, because several of these pieces don't need to be a full page. You could even fold it and make it into a pocket. So you can just look at your papers and decide how you want them cut. They don't all need to be exactly the same. Some can be hanging out, some can be a little shorter on the inside. Now, if I just wanted to adhere this to another page that's next to it, it would be a little thicker when you're using very thin sheets. Or I could just have it doubled like this, so it is a little heavier already. See how many we have. 1, 2, 29 and 30. So we have our 30 pages. We will be taking 10 of each and making each into a signature, and I'll be mixing and matching them. Now, before you actually start putting them all together, if there's some aging or special stamping or something you would like to do beforehand that's not small enough that you would just do on the page after it's bound in, that's a good time to do this. So I'm going to take up my pages and I'm going to show you just some spraying techniques. And all I'm doing is laying a stencil down. And you could use any type of a spray dye, or you literally could just dunk your paper in dye and let it dry and distress it that way. This one's mustard seed. Try to lay it flat. And this is a distress spray. Then I'm going to lay a piece on top. This is kind of fun. And I'm going to use the crushed olive. All I'm going to do is add the back side of this to here. Now this is kind of fun right here, and we're just gonna let that dry. And then here's another one. I'll pick this stencil up. And you can see we've got a pattern on this side. It's just giving you a little bit more interest to your page. And we're just gonna let these dry. These are just some colors we mixed with some ink. We just used 3 inkers and a little bit of water. So any type of a texture you would like in your background, a lot of it will be covered by the time you do your pages. If you want to do a few up, or you can dye all your pages or age them and then work on that. So you're going to want 10 pages in each signature. So I'm just going to start laying out some of my papers, and I'm just going to kind of mix and match. So I'm just going to double check that I have 10 in each. And I do. I'm going to put these lighter weight more in the center. And if there's something in particular you really want in a certain place, you can do that now. The other thing I would do is when you're looking at your pages, especially if there's writing or words or things, you want to see where your top and your bottom is going to be, and making sure that these pages are right side up or down. So what I'm going to do next is look at all my center folds, because I knew this one right here was a little further in. I'm going to use a straight edge, something nice and flat, and make sure that these are all tight together. What I'm going to do next, and I'm going to do this with all 3 stacks. Okay, I can see I'm going to be trimming some of a little bit of this edge off. You can put all your pages in and then decide to tear them, or you can use your paper cutter and just cut them off. I'm going to leave them the way they are till I get them in, and then I can decide what I want to do with the edges that are longer. And then these other 2 sets, I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to put these aside for a minute, and we are going to make our holes in our spine. So I had made this template. I have my dots in the center. So this is just a general template. And what you're going to want is you're going to want 3 holes across and 3 holes down. And you want them to be symmetrical with each other, and you want these to definitely line up with the holes you're going to make in your signature pages. This spine is a little different size than this template, so I'm just going to show you how you would make one. I'm using my center dots here, and that will be my first set of holes. I can see my spine is only going to here and here, so I am going to bring these holes in, these dots right here, and I'm just going to bring them in a little bit on all the sides. And you do want to remember which is the top. So I just wrote top right here. So I know that is the top. You could either tape this or just hold this. And I really do not want this to move. I am going to use masking tape to hold this in place. And I am going to use an awl and make the holes in my spine first. And where I drew my dots, I'm going to make my holes, and where these 3 center ones are. And be careful using any tape on here, because you don't want it to rip anything you've put on your book already. And this is my top. Make sure when you're lining this up, you have the front and you have your top lined up. So what I'm going to do is lay this template flat inside all of these pages, and you want to make sure they're nice and flush, and the top is on the top, and I am just going to make holes in the center. So I'm going to do this with all 3 sets of signatures. So So if your holes are not completely lined straight across, you need to make sure you use the correct set of holes when you're making the holes in your signatures. These are in a straight line, so I wasn't too concerned. So I'm just using the center one. I'm gonna be using a large eye blunt needle to sew these in. And you just wanna make sure your needle will fit through the holes you have made. So I'm gonna take 3 pieces of a heavy thread, and you're gonna want about approximately 3 times the length of this. And I'm just gonna give myself extra and I'll just cut it off. 3 times the height of your cover. Now I've also drawn this on this template. As you can see on here, we are going to start in the center and we are going to go down. So all of these instructions are discussing looking at the inside of your spine. So I'm going to go down through the center and down through the hole and out to the outside. It's easier if you work at either the front or the last signature, so you're not sewing one into the center. You want to start at one end or the other. I like to start with signature 1, and then I'll go to 2, and then I'll go to 3. So what we're going to do next is come up through this hole at the top. So number 3, what we're gonna do is go all the way down to the bottom, and you wanna pull your thread. You're going enough in here to tie, and this gives you way enough. And that's why I made it just even a little bigger. I'd rather have it too big because I can cut it off than too small. And going down through that hole. And then number 4, we'll be going back through the center and coming up through your center of your spine. And you're pulling it so it's tight enough, but you do not want to rip anything, so just pull it so it's taut. And I'm gonna do about 3 ties. And you can see I definitely gave myself a lot of extra thread. And I may have some hanging down. I don't need quite that much. And you can see where I'm gonna either need to trim pages, or maybe I will fold them in as pockets, but I will decide that after I've got these sewn in. So I'm gonna measure 2 more pieces of string, like I did the first one, and I am working from front to back, and I'm gonna add the 2 next sections in, just as I did the first one. Okay, so you can see I've sewn all the signatures in. They're all in here. Some of my pages are a little longer. I may just trim them or make a fun little pocket, and you could just put some tape here and you have a fun pocket that's on here. Or you could rip them. So it just depends on what you would like. But I just wanted to show you how to get your signatures in and different types of paper. And this is what it looks like on the outside. And now you can decide how you would like to embellish every page and what you would like to put in your book. So these are some fun pages that if you wanted to, you could paint, add some gesso. I would just put like a piece of parchment paper behind here, lay this down, and you can paint this page and add your embellishments, pockets, envelopes, anything you would like. Or you could stamp or do any type of additions that you would like to add to these beginning pages.
So I hope you guys thought this was fun and easy, and you can use any type of paper that you would like. And after you get them all put in, then you can really move on to the creating. So we'll be doing a few other videos on fun things you could add to your pages. I hope you give us a try, but whatever you do, have fun.